Alright, as near as I can tell, best way to get views and comments and stuff like that in this YouTube circle is to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, because most of the people who participate in this thing root for the Dallas Cowboys. That's their interest. So, given that also at the same time there's a lot of drama and a lot of interesting stuff going on in Big D this off season, I'll take a video here to voice my opinions on some of the stuff that's going on there and what I think should happen. And I'm not a fan of the Dallas Cowboys. This is just what I think as an outside observer. So I don't know, but it's a interesting football subject. There's a lot of interesting things that can happen there. So when I watch the other Dallas Cowboy videos on here, some subjects continue to come up. First and foremost, you got Tony Romo. You got people calling for his head, people supporting him, people somewhere in the middle, everything like that. And here's my philosophy on a guy like Tony Romo. If you look at a championship team, they usually have, 6, 7, several superstars on that team. And they surround those superstars with a bunch of good players. I could name some examples, but that would take too long. But championship teams are not made up entirely of superstars. So when I say that, I mean that when you find a player that you think is good, you don't need to abandon that player just because you want to find the next future Hall of Famer. So what I'm saying is, you look at Tony Romo, you look at what he's done so far in his career. He started late, but he's been impressive. He puts up solid numbers. He has great mobility and escapability. He makes a lot of big plays. So based off what we've seen so far, Tony Romo, I think it's safe to say he's at the very least a good quarterback. Maybe he's not great yet. Maybe he's not elite. Maybe he never will be. But at least he's good. I would definitely classify Tony Romo as good. And you can build around that. Let's take the Panthers. A couple years ago, 5, 6 years ago, they had Jake Delhomme, who was at that point in his career a good quarterback. He was decent. He could get the job done, but he was not a Pro Bowl quality quarterback. He was not an elite quarterback. So they took him and said, okay, this guy, he's pretty good. We can live with him. We just need to build the right team around him. So they gave him great receivers, a power running game, and a great defense. And they went to the Super Bowl in 2003 and came within 3 points of beating New England. So you can work with those guys. Now, hypothetically, let's say after 2004, the year after they went to the Super Bowl where the Panthers were 8-8 and missed the playoffs, the Panthers organization went, this Jake Delhomme guy, we think he's decent, he's okay, he's pretty good, but he's not a future Hall of Famer, he's not great, he's not amazing, so why don't we just move on? So let's say they let Jake Delhomme go, say, you know what, we need to move in a new direction, and go hunting for the next Peyton Manning, the next Joe Montana, and they draft, say, Alex Smith, because he was the #1 quarterback prospect that year. And we have some idea of how that would have worked out based off what we've seen out of Alex Smith in San Francisco. And let's say maybe they give up on Alex Smith after 2 years. Now, usually that doesn't happen, but let's say they saw something so awful out of Alex Smith, they gave up on him after 2 years and went out and drafted Jamarcus Russell. That sets them back another 2 years. So ultimately, they should have just kept that good guy instead of gone hunting for the next amazing thing. Before you get rid of somebody, you need to be sure that you can replace him with somebody as good or better, or pretend has a realistic chance of being better. And with a guy like Romo, yeah, there are guys out there better than him, but can you get any of them? You're not trading for Peyton Manning. You're not trading for Tom Brady. You're not pulling Troy Aikman out of retirement, so you got to consider those things. And again, you look at Romo, you look at his weaknesses. What does he not do well? He does a lot of stupid things. He commits a lot of turnovers. He struggles a little bit late in the season. Okay. But at that same time, he should be able to take your team to 8, 9, 10 wins earlier in the year. He should be able to take you that far. And maybe later in the season, what you need to do is have a great running game that you can give control of the game to. Just let the running game control December and January. Maybe you need to build a great defense that can shut down the opposing offenses and allow the Dallas offense to win games without scoring 40 points. So that's basically how I feel about this thing. When you get somebody good, you stick with them. You can spend the rest of your life looking for the next Joe Montana and never find him because that is so rare to happen. Or you can just find somebody who's good, pretty good, whatever, and try and make it work with him by putting superstars around that player instead of trying to find a superstar at that particular position. You have to work with whatever you get, and in this case, this is what the Cowboys got. That's kind of how I feel about this whole thing. Another thing that keeps coming up is Terrell Owens. I think, and this will not happen because Jerry Jones loves Terrell Owens, and he would view this as a failure on his part. I think they should let Terrell Owens go. Trade him, cut him, release him, whatever. So, and people are probably going to think I'm crazy for this, but hear me out. If you look at Terrell Owens' stats this year, and part of this is on Jason Garrett, his numbers are good. But that's it. They're not great, they're not elite, they're not Pro Bowl material. They are good. He had like 70 catches for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. But with those numbers, knowing that he's 36, look at next year. Those numbers are probably going to go down a little bit. Maybe he'll break 1,000 yards. Maybe he'll break 70 catches again. Maybe he'll even get 10 touchdowns. But there's a good chance it's going to go down. The best case scenario is they more or less stay at about that level, right? So, the point is there are dozens of wide receivers in the league as good or better than Terrell Owens. I could probably name a bunch of them right now, but I won't. But trust me, there are dozens of receivers in this league right now as good or better than Terrell Owens. Here's the thing. Terrell Owens will complain about not getting the ball enough whenever he feels he's not getting the ball enough. I actually heard this example used on the BS report. If Terrell Owens is just another wide receiver in the league right now, which I think he is, he's nothing amazing anymore. He's not dominant anymore. He's just a good receiver. What place does he have saying he wants the ball more? It's like, what's a good example? If, let's say Baltimore had a veteran quarterback, not a rookie, because a rookie would never do this, but hypothetically, if the Ravens had a veteran, good quarterback, and Derek Mason went up to that quarterback and said, I want the ball more, throw me the ball more, throw it to me more, that quarterback is going to say, no, dude, I mean, you're just another wide receiver. There's nothing special about you. I'll throw you the ball when you're open. Get out of my face. Why is it any different with Terrell Owens? He's not any better than Derek Mason at this point in his career, really. Derek Mason had slightly lesser stats, but he had a rookie quarterback. I don't think Derek Mason is clearly better than T.O. right now. So it's like you're getting a good receiver who still acts as if he's elite. He says, I want the ball more. And that's a distraction, but it's something you can tolerate if that receiver is an elite player who you want to get the ball to. But Terrell Owens is not that anymore. So, unless he's willing to change his beliefs, unless he's willing to accept that he has no place, no right to demand the ball more, I think you should let him go, but it's not going to happen. You look at the Cowboys next year, their wide receiver corps. If Roy Williams, if they use him right, they should get a good season out of him. But be careful with your expectations.